भगवते वासुदेव नारायण नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 6, the Yadu dynasty retires to Prabhas. Text 42 onwards. So Krishna has arranged all the Yadus in Prabhashetra, but Uddhavji was separately, he met Krishna separately, and he is praying to Krishna now. Shri Uddhava Vacha, Deva Devesha Yogesha, Punya Shravana Kirtan, Samhritya Tatkulam Nunam, Lokam Santyakshate Bhavan, Viprashapam Samarthopi, Pratyahanna Yadishvara. Shri Uddhav said, O my Lord, O Supreme God, among all the demigods, real piety is invoked simply by hearing and chanting your transcendental glories. My Lord, it appears that you will now withdraw your dynasty and thus you yourself will finally give up your pastimes within this universe. You are the supreme controller and the master of all mystic power. But although you are fully capable of counteracting the Brahman's curse against your dynasty, you are not doing so and your disappearance is imminent. So Uddhavji understood what's going on. As previously mentioned, Krishna's own dynasty can never be destroyed. Therefore, the word Samhritya means that Krishna was taking the Yadavas with him as he left this material world. However, in the eyes of ordinary unenlightened persons, the withdrawal of the Yadu dynasty appears to be its destruction. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very nicely explained the statement of Uddhava as follows. Krishna is addressed as Deva Deva, or the supreme god among the gods, because he expertly solved all of the problems of the demigods by his incarnations within the universe. The Lord rid the world of demons and firmly established both his devotees and religious principles. He established Yudhishthira Maharaj on the throne of the world as because he is a pure devotee, and religious principles. Lord Krishna is addressed here as Yogesh because he not only performed work on behalf of the demigods, but also revealed his beautiful transcendental form, full of transcendental qualities and ecstasies, for the pleasure of his pure devotees. Krishna is called Punya Shravana Kirtan because when by his internal mystic potency he exhibited his human-like activities, the Lord stimulated the writing of innumerable Vedic scriptures about his pastimes. Thus, persons who would be born in the future, like ourselves, would be able to hear and chant about the Lord's activities and also come back to Godhead, because that's what purifies us. That's what takes our consciousness away from Maya towards lotus feet of Krishna. Having ensured the transcendental bliss and liberation of all of his devotees, even those who would be born in the future, Krishna decided the time had come for him to leave this material universe. Uddhav could understand the Lord's desire and said to Krishna, "You have instructed the Yadavas to counteract the Brahman's curse by taking bath at Prabhashetra. But how could mere bathing in a holy place be of greater value than seeing you, the personality of Godhead, face to face? Since the Yadavas are always seeing your transcendental forms, and since you are the Supreme Lord, what is the use of their taking bath in a so-called holy place? Therefore, you obviously have some other purpose. If you actually want to counteract the curse, you could simply say, let this curse not act, and the curse would immediately be neutralized. Therefore, you must be preparing to leave this universe, and that is why you have not counteracted the curse." See, this is devotee. Devotees know the heart of Krishna. What's in his heart? They know. Na aham tvangri kamalam kshanardham api keshava tyaktum samutsahe natha swadham nae mam api. O Lord Keshav, my dear master, I cannot tolerate giving up a lotus sweet, even for a fraction of a moment. I urge you to take me along with you to your own abode. See, Uddhav understood that Krishna was going to withdraw the Yadu dynasty, and thus he begged the Lord to take him along to the Lord's abode. He had no desire to merge into Krishna's impersonal effulgence. Instead, he wanted to go to the Lord's spiritual abode and continue associating with Krishna as his dearmost friend. Krishna is a personality of Godhead and can do whatever he likes, but the devotee begs the Lord for the chance to serve him. Although the Lord manifests within the material world his various abodes, such as Vrindavan, Dwarka, and Mathura, and although these are certainly non-different from their counterparts in the spiritual world, the most advanced devotees, overwhelmed with desire to personally serve the Lord, are very eager to go to the Lord's original spiritual planet. As stated by Lord Kapila in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the pure devotees have no desire for liberation. Because of their eagerness to render service, they urge the Lord to appear before them. So all Uddhavji wanted was to go back to the spiritual world with him and to serve Krishna. The six Goswamis, due to their intense eagerness to serve Radha and Krishna, urgently searched after them, calling out their names in the forest of Vrindavan. Similarly, Uddhav is urging the Lord to take him to his own abode so that Uddhav's personal service to the Lord's lotus feet will not be interrupted even for a moment. So this is the desire of a devotee. They don't want to give up their service. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has pointed out that immature, conditioned souls think that Lord Krishna is an ordinary jiva soul engaged in material activities and was thus unable to protect his own dynasty from the curse of the Brahmins. Uddhav's statement corrects such unfortunate persons. It is Lord Krishna himself who awarded pious living entities birth in Brahminical families, and then Lord Krishna further awarded them the potency to curse his dynasty. And finally, Lord Krishna personally kept the curse intact, although he was capable of neutralizing it. Therefore, in the beginning, middle, and end, directly and indirectly, in the past, present, and future, Lord Krishna is the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. And he is completely transcendental to even the slightest touch of material illusion or impotence. So he is the supreme Lord. I mean, many times it's shown in the serials also and written in books also. The Gandhari cursed Krishna that my family was destroyed and your family should also be destroyed. And Gandhari might have cursed, but it's not because of that curse Krishna let the Yadu dynasty destroy. No. Krishna could have easily neutralized that curse. Easily. What's a big deal for him? Krishna just let it intact. Even here, the Brahman's curse. Because he wanted to wind up the pastimes. That's all. He is supremely independent and supreme controller. We have to understand his position. It just, Brahmins, because he wants to keep the respect of the Brahmins intact, and his devotees' words to be intact. So he lets these things pass. Otherwise, he's not bound by anything. Tavikriditam Krishna Nrinam Param Mangalam Karna Piyusham Aswadya Tyajyanti Anyas Priham Janaha. My dear Krishna, your pastimes are supremely auspicious for mankind and are an intoxicating beverage for the ears. Tasting such pastimes, people forget their desires for other things. Anyas Priham, or desire for things other than Krishna, indicates the material desire to enjoy wife, children, money, and so on. Ultimately, the materialist may desire religious salvation for his personal comfort and satisfaction, but all such desires are mundane. Because on the spiritual platform, the pure soul thinks only of the Lord's pleasure and the Lord's service. Therefore, a pure devotee can never give up Krishna, even for a moment. Although for Krishna's pleasure, he can give up the entire universe. But he doesn't want to give up, never wants to give up Krishna. Shaya sanatan sthana snana krida shanadishu katham tvam priyamatmanam vayam bhaktas tyajemhi. My dear Lord, you're the supreme soul, and thus you are most dear to us. We are your devotees, and how can we possibly reject you or live without you, even for a moment? Whether we are lying down, sitting, walking, talking, standing, bathing, enjoying recreation, eating, or doing anything else, we are constantly engaged in your service. So this is a devotee, constantly engaged in the service of Krishna. One should be constantly engaged in the service of Krishna. By hearing about Krishna and by serving him, we can give up the illusion of trying to enjoy something separately from the Supreme Lord. If we neglect such hearing and serving, our minds will become bewildered by the illusory energy of the Lord. And seeing the world as separate from Krishna, we will take it as a place meant for our own sense gratification. This gross ignorance brings nothing but trouble to the living entity. So that is why we have to train our mind by constant, continuous practice of chanting and service. We have to train our mind to see Krishna everywhere, not see everything or anything separate from Krishna. Because if we think everything is separate from Krishna, then we try to get into sense gratification. That no, this is for my enjoyment. No. Tvayopabhukta srig gandha vaso alankara charchitaha uchishta bhojino dasas tava mayam jayemhi. Simply by decorating ourselves with the garlands, fragrant oils, clothes, and ornaments that you have already enjoyed, and by eating the remnants of your meals, we, your servants, will indeed conquer your illusory energy. It is clear from this verse that Uddhava is not approaching the Lord for liberation from the illusory energy. As a personal, confidential associate of Lord Krishna, Uddhava was undoubtedly a completely liberated soul. He is praying to the Lord because he cannot bear the thought of living without Krishna even for a moment. This feeling is called love of God. Uddhava is addressing the Lord as follows: even if your illusory energy tries to attack us, my Lord, we will very easily conquer her by our powerful weapons. Which are the weapons? The remnants of your foodstuffs, clothes, ornaments, and so on. In other words, we will easily conquer our Maya by Krishna Prasad, and not by useless speculation and mental concoction. So that's why when we take Krishna Prasad, not just eating wise, because everything is prasad, whatever we get, whether it is oil or clothes or the garland we get somehow, sometime, we should honor it. It's non-different from Krishna. Krishna has accepted it. It's non-different. And when we honor it respectfully and we apply the fragrant oil or honor the prasadam, means we are getting immune to Maya's attacks. This is our protection. That's why we also put on tilak on 12 places on our body for our protection. Protection not against any weapon or so, but it's protection against Maya. Vat vasna yarishaya sharamana urdhamanthina brahmakhyam dham priyanti shanta sannyasino amala. Naked sages who seriously endeavor in spiritual practice, who have raised their semen upwards, who are peaceful and sinless members of the renounced order, attain the spiritual abode called Brahman. So they go to all these yogis, they go to Brahm Jyoti. In chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Klesho diktarastesham avyakta asakta chetasam. Those who are attached to the impersonal feature of the personality of Godhead must endure grueling penances in order to achieve impersonal liberation in the realm of Brahman. Also, it is stated in Bhagavatam, Aruya Krichrena Patam, Param Padam Tata. With great struggle and trouble, the yogis climb their way into the impersonal effulgence called Brahm Jyoti. But again, they slip out of the Jyoti and fall back into the material world because they do not take shelter of the personality of Godhead. Envious fools object to the paternalism of the personality of Godhead, but these fools cannot take credit for the creation of their own body, brain, or energy. Nor can they claim credit for the air, rain, vegetables, fruit, sun, moon, etc. In other words, they are totally dependent on the mercy of God at every second, and yet they arrogantly state that they do not want to accept the shelter of the Lord because they are self-sufficient. So that's what many people say, wow, what do I need God for? I have everything. But where is this everything coming from? They don't want to accept it. In fact, some bewildered living entities even think that they themselves are God, although they cannot explain why God has to struggle and toil to achieve meager success in the yoga system. Therefore, Uddhava is pointing out that unlike the impersonalists and meditators, the pure devotees very easily cross over the illusory energy because they are totally attached to the lotus feet of Krishna. Lord Krishna is always transcendental, and when one is firmly attached to Lord's lotus feet, then he is also transcendental. So attachment to Lord's lotus feet, what does that mean? That means serving him. Attachment to his lotus feet means we are understanding our humble position and Krishna's great position, and we serve him. That's all. The causeless mercy of Krishna is more valuable than millions and billions of years of one's own struggling and straining. One should try to get the Lord's mercy, and then everything will become very easy on the path of spiritual realization. In this age, one can achieve the mercy of Lord Krishna by constantly chanting his holy name. If one constantly chants Lord Krishna's holy names, avoiding offenses against the names, then surely one will achieve the same result as Uddhava. Uddhava was not interested in so-called Brahman realization, but rather he wanted to go on drinking the maddening nectar of the beautiful smiling of the Lord's moon-like face. So that was his whole purpose. Vayam tvih mahayogin brahmanta karma vartmasu tvadvartaya tarisyamas tavakar dustaram tamaha smaranta kirtayantaste kritani gatitani cha gati utsmite kshana shveli yanri loka vidambanam. O greatest of mystics, although we are conditioned souls wandering on the path of fruitive work, will certainly cross beyond the darkness of this material world simply by hearing about your Lordship in the association of your devotees. Thus, we are always remembering and glorifying the wonderful things you do and the wonderful things you say. We ecstatically recall your amorous pastimes with the confidential conjugal devotees and how you boldly smile and move about while engaged in such youthful pastimes. My dear Lord, your loving pastimes are bewilderingly similar to the activities of ordinary people within this material world. So bewilderingly similar, they're not the same. In this verse, Uddhava, by stating Brahmanta Karma Vartamasu, humbly presents himself as one of the conditioned souls entangled in fruitive activities. Still, Uddhava is confident that he will certainly cross over the illusory energy because he is addicted to chanting and remembering the glorious activities and words of Lord Krishna. So this is all it's required to remember and chant his holy names, his pastimes. And Uddhavji, he talks about the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis because he's thinking of gopis. Krishna had sent him to gopis to get the instructions or understand the mood of the gopis. Uddhav is begging the Lord for the mercy of his Sudarshan Chakra, whose effulgence is represented by the process of remembering and chanting the pastimes of the Lord. One who absorbs himself in the incomparable bliss of thinking of the Lord's abode easily becomes free from all lamentation, illusion, and fear. That is the recommendation of Sri Uddhav. Shri Shukavacha evam vigyapito rajan Bhagavan Devaki Sutah ekantinam priyam prityam Uddhavam samabhashata. O King Parikshit thus addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Devaki, began to reply confidentially to his dear unalloyed servant, Uddhav. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the conditioned living entities, by their movements, laughter, activities, and words, simply bind themselves more and more in material existence. But if they engage in hearing and chanting about the pastimes of the personality of Godhead, the conditioned souls will achieve liberation from the bondage of repeated birth and death. This process of supreme liberation will now be elaborately described by Lord Krishna to his dearmost devotee, Sri Uddhav. So thus ends the purports to 11th canto, 6th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Yadu Dynasty Retires to Prabhas Kshetra. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, so you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.